Hello everyone and welcome to Estella's Intuitive Chamber. Now, an exciting thing that I have come up with today. Well, I haven't come up with today. It was an idea for a while. So, Pope Leo the 14th. And as a matter of fact, I had to Google what number he is because I had no idea. I don't know anything about this guy, which is the magic of me reading charts, is not knowing anything about these individuals. I haven't researched much. I only know that he's American, that he's from the United States, and nothing else. I knew he was Pope Leo, but Pope Leo, which Pope Leo? There was a lot of Pope Leos in history. I like to improvise so much, and I just like to learn to improvise, which is also fun. So, Pope Leo the 14th. Now, I actually wrote stuff down of like how I feel things and how I see things. So in this case, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about that is the color red that's behind me. The color red, and I see this being associated to him. I associate red with passion, but I also associate red with royalty. I know people associate blue with royalty and purple with royalty. I associate red with royalty for a reason. That's just been the color of royalty for me. I don't know what it is about it. And also color of high spiritual priests. There, I said it. And it just came to me now. Now, what do we have with Pope Leo? I'm definitely interested in some theological subjects and subjects of belief, spirituality, religion. But in 2013, I actually visited the Vatican and I had an intense spiritual experience when I was there. I definitely communicated with something that appeared to me as, well, I even describe this. She was definitely female origin. I know they say there's not such thing as female angel. I genuinely felt I was communicating with a female angel. And yeah, we had a pretty interesting discussion, me and her. And I was in this church and I remember I just felt her presence and it was really interesting. And I felt all of these beings and energy around me, but I also felt a lot of negativity coming from it. It was a mix of both. It was like angelic beings, spirits, lots of spirits. My goodness, there was so many spirits there. But yeah, there's some weird energy there. What I felt was really, really occult, deeply occult. And don't get me wrong, I love the occult, but that energy really, because it's so intense, I was drunk off the energy of the Vatican, both negative and positive. And it's a really exceptionally magical place. And I do recommend that whoever is interested in spirituality, to definitely visit the Vatican if they are interested in these things. So, going back to the point, because I'm drifting off already. Well, I'm not interested in the clergy and the church, because they would have probably did burn me a couple of hundreds of years ago. Thanks a lot for that. Now I'm back. Too bad. He has Venus conjunct the Sun in Virgo, and he has also Mars in Virgo. Now, the interesting thing is that I associate every single degree with a sign and with a house. When we look at the Venus in conjunction to the Sun in Virgo, Venus is on the 24th degree of Virgo, and the Sun is on the 21st degree, which is a very interesting degree as well. Now, we have Mars on the 11th degree of Virgo. So these three planets, even despite them being in the sign of Virgo, there's no conjunction between all of three of them. I just count a cluster of three planets as a stellium. Some people do it differently. I don't really care because I just do my thing. So I would consider a cluster of three planets to be a stellium. In this case, we have only two planets in conjunction, so that does not make it a stellium, but does not diminish the power of these three planets being in one sign. We do not have his rising sign. I did not find the hour of birth. I'm not going to try and guess because it just takes too much time and I don't really have the attention span for that right now. We have all this Virgoian energy very Mercurian energy. So first of all, the things that I associate with him is the color red. I think in his past life, he used to be a king of a country and he really liked it. I wouldn't say it was so recent. It was like far back, a couple hundreds of years ago. There's a lot of color red with him. What the things that come to me are he is a philosopher. He is a scholar, an excellent scholar. He uses words, the power of written words and the power of speech to get to people. Now, because he was a king in his previous life, he likes that. He remembers how that felt like, and he remembers what it took to be a king. You know, he still possesses qualities to be a king of the church nowadays. And I think he's going to do really well with that position. So he was an appointed, now I know nothing about this guy, but I'm feeling that he's a scholar. He's extremely gifted. Another thing I'm getting, he's extremely well spoken, this guy. Why am I getting scholar of the occult? Scholar, I'm going to write it down. So scholar of the occult. It's almost like he studied ancient scripture. Okay, so this guy is extremely well spoken. He's a smooth talker as well. He's extremely intelligent. He uses the power of his mind and the power of his words to get to people. At first, when you see him, he may come across, he definitely has these two traits. Like, he comes across as a modest man. He is also, in a way, a clean freak. So he values cleanliness. I'm going to write it down. Cleanliness. He has some type of OCD. And I think that has to do with cleanliness. His idea of keeping the body and the spirit pure, celibacy. So with having Venus in Virgo, Mars in Virgo, and the Sun in Virgo, the energy is really focused on the like purity and the celibacy. Hence why he decided to become a priest. Later a cardinal, now a pope. So he really values this idea of celibacy. I can't help but feel though that before he centered this idea around celibacy and cleanliness, because that comes from like a deep-rooted OCD thing that he has, he generally has a thing for keeping the space clean, because I feel that when he doesn't keep his space clean and like neat, he probably has like a neat handwriting, calligraphic way of writing, way of writing. So that's definitely something that comes as strong. And he's extremely gifted with words, artistic and calligraphy, OCD. So yeah, he's a bit of a clean freak, this guy. He really, really values celibacy. But before he centered his whole idea around celibacy and cleanliness and purity of the body and of the heart and of the soul, before he went into that, he kind of like extensively studied it at first. Yeah, that's when it becomes interesting. Mercury and Neptune in Libra. That's why I was saying he's a smooth talker. He's a smooth talker. And he's a smooth talker. He was probably a ladies' man back in the days before he became priest. He was probably like really charming. You know, Venus in Virgo. I have Venus in Virgo myself. I will fall in love with someone for their mind, you know, for the way they express themselves, for the way they like to be of service, for the way they like look after you. They're like, I like people that are very attentive, and they're very they're almost logical in their emotions. So they can like think, they can logically reflect on what you need. And he's the kind of guy, he can logically reflect on what someone needs, what he has to say, how he has to say it. I would believe because he's got Mercury and Neptune in Libra, that would give a pleasant voice. And if that doesn't give a pleasant voice, it gives a very like smooth talker. You know, ladies' man. That's why I'm saying that back in the days, he was a ladies' man, this guy. He could probably, if he wanted to, he could have become like a love poet or a singer of like romantic songs, like romantic ballads. And, you know, I'm also like seeing something here that probably if he was even in love, he would like write a whole page of like romantic poetry or expressing his undying love and devotion and this and that. I think that what generally drove him to become a priest in the end is that needs to know, because Mercury, with so much Virgo, needs to know and needs to, they love learning. So it's happened with learning and gathering information. Virgo is really good at gathering information. And what happens when we have too much information? This all goes up here. It doesn't go anywhere else. So we freak out. So we develop I mean, I say we because I have Venus in Virgo. We become a bit neurotic and OCD. That's why I'm saying there's this OCD thing in him, and that's what kind of makes him good at his job. I am getting this occult scholar. Like, he studied first version of the Bible. Don't know why I'm writing this. First version of the Bible, he studied that before it was translated and some information was lost. I don't know even how you call it first version of the Bible, but that's what's coming out. So he studied that. There's some groundedness there. There's some like wanting to have the material resource and material power for him to be able to study and communicate. Another thing that comes up, when I was saying that he used to be king, so he still likes the attention. He will come across as a person that is modest, that is clean. So he's a person that really likes the attention though, you know. And the reason why I'm saying this, because you cannot possibly have Uranus, Pluto, and Jupiter, and possibly the moon as well. The reason why I wasn't talking about the moon, I wrote down moon possibly in Virgo or Leo. Now, we don't have his hour of birth, so we cannot know that for sure. But if he's a Virgo, then that intensifies the groundedness. I personally have a feeling, I don't know why, I could be completely wrong. I personally have a feeling that he could be 29th degree of Leo. So I'm going to write that down, 29th degree of Leo, which would make, interestingly enough, he likes the attention, by the way. He will not say it, he will not show it, but he likes. And he likes the attention. He wants to be the king. He wants to be king of the church. And that would make, if I am feeling that his moon is in the 29th degree of Leo, that would actually make his Pluto, which is, I think it's on the let me have a look here, 27th. Yes, it's in the 27th degree of Leo. So that would conjunct Regulus in Leo. And if you watched my Bill Gates video, Regulus gives a rise to power. Regulus is seen in people that become extremely famous. They become kings, rulers of something. They become celebrities. Regulus is so common. Also the 29th degree. We will always check every person's famous person, important historical figures, check any kings or queens or princesses chart. You will see the 29th degree almost anywhere. Jupiter is in Leo. And I wrote here with Uranus, with Pluto in Leo, with possibly the moon in Leo. I mean, this guy really likes attention. I'm sorry, you cannot have all of these planets. And first of all, not rise to power. And not like the attention. You can pretend, which is what he's doing. You can pretend you don't like the attention, but you most certainly do like the attention. And that's absolutely fine. You know, you were born sometimes to like the attention, or you're born to not like it. He is going to provide with a grounded approach, almost, I will write it down, almost political approach to the church. Political, grounded approach, more like, yes, I'm touched by divine power, but I'm up here a lot. So he's needing to want to become king. He became king. He became king again in this life. And now he's basically like leading with the power of his mind. He likes to challenge people around him as well mentally, because this guy is like full of facts. He's like full of knowledge. He studied a lot of stuff. One thing that concerns me, Saturn in Scorpio. So Saturn in Scorpio is on the, once again, 17th degree, which is the 5th degree, which is the 29th degree, which is the degree of Leo, of the 5th house. Once again, wanting to be in power. This guy likes power a lot. He does like his power. They do say that Virgos are clean freaks, OCD freaks. I don't want to offend Virgos because I love Virgos. I have Venus in Virgo myself, so if I do criticize Virgo, I'm also criticizing myself. So Virgos are known to be big control freaks. They will control every inch of your life, whether you're doing the dishes wrong, or you haven't had a good enough shower, or you haven't cleansed something enough, or you haven't done something the way they wanted you to do, you haven't said something the way they wanted you to do. So yeah, Virgos are big fucking control freaks, and it's a fact. Now, I have seen people with a lot of Virgo that had kind of lots of squares to Jupiter, or they had aspects in square to other planets that kind of made them extremely disorganized. So that like Virgo energy that it was meant to be used in a good way was actually completely wasted on just really bad disorganization and really bad like hygienic practices. But that Virgo, the Virgo that he has a lot of trine. Then let me have a look here. See, he's got the everything trining his Saturn in Scorpio. He is also distrusting of other people. He doesn't trust. He likes to maintain and control by ways of always keeping very secretive, of never really like revealing who he really is. So that this is the way that he keeps in control. And that might stem from a trauma that he had in childhood, where he was probably also abused, or he was subjected to very manipulative, very dark ways of control. And from that kind of stems that need to control others. But the way he's doing it, he's not doing it openly. He's doing it behind the scenes. But he's a really controlling person. But the way he maintains that control, it's a very grounded type of control. The control that you almost don't really feel. You know, you don't really like feel that type of control. It's very secret for him. He's doing it in the background a lot. You know, kind of funny because he's got a lot of you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when I was reading the charts of Bill Gates. They had a lot of similar aspects here, except Bill Gates was a completely different story. More like in the tech world, but he's the kind of, I'm safe to say he's almost like the Bill Gates of the clergy. But this guy is, because of his Saturn in Scorpio, so they need to control, they need to exercise power in a secretive way. He's really distrusting of people. But that squares, and I believe that actually squares Jupiter. So they need to control and be secretive and have the power and be restrictive and be like very serious. He must have this like really, when you first meet him, he must have this like very serious demeanor to him. He's like super serious, and he almost gives you like a vibe like, do not mess with me. But then deep down, I do feel that he's got this very sweet side of him, a side that like wants to give and wants to show you and wants to discuss things with you. So there's a side that he wants to show you things, you know, he wants to be kind and give instead of like restrict and take away. He wants to give. And I feel like he's constantly struggling between these two. Do I give? Do I open my heart, or do I close it? You know, it's always been this battle, ongoing battle his whole life. And what actually drove him to become a priest to begin with, I think this is a really passionate person as well. He's like got his passions running high. So the only way he could actually take complete control of that is by embodying Saturn in Scorpio, by embodying the restriction on sexuality, on his own sexuality, because his libido was probably really high in the beginning, but also this need to control. So what he's going to control, Venus in Virgo, he's going to control his sexual desire and needs. Venus in Virgo as well, there's another tricky thing about Venus in Virgo, and I know that because I have that myself, that we are very picky with our partners. Now, I will fall in love with someone's personality, but we are very picky. And in that pickiness, endless pickiness that we have, okay, he's not tall enough, she's not like this enough, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes we lose ourselves into this pickiness. We become overly selective and overly picky to the point where we miss really good opportunities sometimes, you know. So very thing to watch out for. He probably was aware of that in the very beginning of his life. And that's why with the Saturn in Scorpio needs to restrict himself in that regards. He chose, okay, I would rather just be celibate and be a priest than sort of like almost dwell into this like earthly temporal temptation and choices and not knowing what to choose. It's kind of weird. He also I feel like he's also like kind of disgusted by the thought of like having sex, or he's got some like preferences that are like traditional, but it's almost like he can't decide really what he likes. So it was better for him to become a priest to sort of like almost hide that restriction that he imposed upon himself. Now, when I look further, we have that Venus in Virgo with the Sun. So the Sun is overpowering Venus. I actually don't like when people have Moon in conjunctions to the Sun, because the Sun is too overpowering for Venus. So poor Venus is overshined by the Sun, so overshined by ego. So even if he tried to date, he wouldn't really have success because of this like overpowering Sun anyway. And Venus, not to forget that Venus is actually detrimental in the sign of Virgo. So Venus doesn't feel good in Virgo because it's, you know, it's not romantic, it's not sweet, it's not like touchy-feely, it's too much up here. You know, it's not giving a lot of space for romance, you know? It's almost like depriving yourself of love and pleasure and sex, you know, in a way. So no wonder he decided to become a priest. Also, he's a clean freak and he kind of gets like easily disgusted by like poor hygiene or kind of scents and bodily fluids that he's probably like disgusted by anyway. The Sun is on a 21st degree of Virgo, so that means it's connected to the 9th house, so Sagittarius. I think he's got an explorative mind. He's definitely will use a lot of power of connections to like make connections all over the world, travel a lot, occult scholar, occult pilgrim that just goes around the world to preach. And I think he's going to have a lot of, with that Mercury Neptune, he could have a lot of, I don't think he's a person that lies, but I don't necessarily see that he could be someone who's lying or who's masking things. And perhaps he could be a little bit too blunt sometimes. He's like trying to get his point across, and he's very Virgoan, so he's very like detail oriented, and he values lots of like, he will go over and over and over things that he just has to say like in a lot of detail. But he says it in a very sweet and kind way, almost like he's trying to include everybody, make everyone feel really comfortable. But I am going to assume that he is going to be very politically oriented, that he wants to bring to an alliance. He doesn't want to divide. He definitely wants to ally everyone. He wants everyone to feel comfortable. And Libra is known to kind of be an ass kisser a lot. So he will try to kiss a lot of asses of the world to bring up to an alliance, or to have peace talks, or to obviously invite for peace. But with that Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto in Leo, he's definitely in for the power. He likes to have the power, and he's proud that he's become king of the church, basically. And hence why I feel he also chose the name Pope Leo, because deep down he is a Leo. He's putting his energy out there through words. So he's going to be the kind of Pope that talks a lot. I understand people maybe saw that as the North Node in conjunction to Black Moon Lilith. He's like hiding his like primal deep desires. And I definitely feel in one of his life he was a king. Then the other life definitely was some type of pilgrim. One of those walking... something like Saint Germain, walking around, traveling from place to place, changing names and almost like preaching something, mythology. So he's also the healer. He's the one who brings to knowledge. he's the one who brings you knowledge, philosophy, who heals you. They definitely see him as some type of magic healer in the past, some type of pilgrim, some type of person that was going from place to place and healing people, or he was simply passing on like some type of ancient magical knowledge, that's for sure. So that's what I think could be represented with the Black Moon Lilith and the North Node. Now, I saw a lot of people, like a tremendous amount of posts that claimed him to be an occult priest back in his lifetime. And look, it could be possible. It could be very well possible. But I don't think that has to do with his previous life. I think he very well is one well accomplished nowadays. He is an occult scholar. I thought it would be a little bit more interesting, but I think it's like good enough so far. He's definitely a political scholar, just using the power of clergy and the church to carry out certain tasks, to lead with the power of spoken words, and to lead the power of his mind. And I thought it would be more interesting, but also I'm feeling like in one of his speeches, there's going to be some bluntness there when he speaks. It's a kind of bluntness that at the same time, it appeases everyone when he says that. You have to understand that Mercury and Neptune in conjunction in Libra is a sign of justice. So as much as he's like blunt and he like shocks the way he says things, but the way he says things is done in such a grounded, just way that almost makes people nod and say, yeah, well, he's kind of right, to be honest, when he says that. So he's not wrong. Almost, I'm seeing people like nod at that. They're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yes, this is like something that I agree is just and is right, and this makes sense. Okay, that's all I have for now, and if I have anything else, I'll come back. I hope you like this reading. Like and subscribe if you like my videos, and I'll be back with soon. I'll be back with more stuff soon enough.